So you want to be a zero. So you want to be stuck doing quests for 80 levels, and also play as a boy and a girl at the same time. Then you've come to the right class. So zero has to do quests until 180. However, at level 120, you could move on to the Maple World and gain some EXP from monsters there. The class does start at level 100 and has its own upgrade system, where if you have scrolls in here, you can just use them. They do have to be in your inventory, of course. And you can upgrade your weapons just by clicking on the weapon growth button. Your weapons do have spirits in them, kind of like Aaron. You're also born from a goddess, I don't know if I mentioned that. So the type 9, you do have to have an Umbra Essence, which comes from Lucid. But I mean, upgrade 7 is great, like it's a pretty good upgrade. But anyway, you can also change the potential if you have enough. I don't remember what these are called. I'm gonna call them weapon points. So if you have enough, you can actually change, like, reset the potential. I believe it goes all the way up to unique. I could be wrong about that. I left mine at unique or epic because I got attack on it. And when you upgrade one weapon, you upgrade both. So you pretty much don't have to upgrade your secondary. It just upgrades on its own. It's really good. And alright, so I guess we'll move on to the skills. So the shared skills are skills that it doesn't matter which, form you're in, either alpha or beta. Alpha being the boy and beta being the girl. You just use them, or they're passive. So Temple Recall. This sends you back to the beginning area, and in the beginning area I should mention that on the bottom left of the map there's a bookshelf that you can click on 3 times a day, and it'll give you 5 points towards any of the the traits. So anything like ambition and so on. So alright, that's Temple Recall. Dual Combat. So the special thing about the Zero class is that you're playing 2 classes at once. Or two people at once. So right now I'm Alpha, he's the speedy of the 2. And he's, like, just so mobile. Anyway, God, I love him. So when you switch to the other character, so for me it's Beta right now, if I switch to her, for 3 seconds, Alpha will help me out. And as I attack, he'll use a corresponding attack with me, pretty much doubling your DPS. And, okay, so it says the tag. The tag just means that they're with you, and the assist is that they'll attack with you for 3 seconds while they're assisting you, or tagged in. So, I was just Alpha, now I'm Beta, and then if I use one of Alpha's attacks, I'll switch back to Alpha. So I guess I'll use this, and now Beta's helping me out. Alright, so Divine Force is an aura that you can just toggle onto your feet. Anyone in your party that's around you also gains the effect of 20 attack, 20 magic attack, and then some defensive stuff. However, you're going to be using Divine Speed most of the time. This increases your attack speed by 1, and movement and jump. This, again, applies to your party that's around you. Alright, so then we have Burst Jump. This is just their flash jump. Goes pretty far, it's like a medium-ranged flash jump. And then Burst Step, which is a teleport. So you can teleport up, down, left, or right. And there doesn't seem to be a, cooldown on it, so you can pretty much stay in place as long as your ping allows it. You can also teleport, like, 2 directions. So I can do like that, and then just keep doing that. You can also link it with Burst Jump. So if I flash jump and then teleport, I can do that. And yeah. So that's that. Reen's Protection. So this is the goddess that, bore you from tears or something. And this is your Maple Warrior. It increases you and your party's all stats by 15%. Resolution Time is a passive. I feel like I should also mention that this class doesn't have MP. Instead it has Time Force. And the Time Force, of course, will go down as you attack, but if you switch to the other character, you kind of recover it. Like, you see that she has, a certain amount right now. So if I switch, then it recovers. Like, this class has really good survivability because of that. Because they recover health and time force as you switch. Alright, so I guess I'll go over Transcendent skills, because I'll probably forget to do it later. So at level 100, you get double time. As you attack, you reduce your skill's cooldowns by 4 seconds. So I'm going to use one of his longest skills, which is the Wind Cutter. Has a very long cooldown after you use it. But if I use another one of his skills, then it'll cut the cooldown by 4 seconds every time I use another skill. Or even more so, with Beta. So throwing the weapon has a cooldown of 5 seconds, but because we can reduce the cooldown by 4 seconds by using another skill, I can pretty much use it forever. So something like that. Anyway, so that's double time. Oh, actually there's more to it. So when Alpha attacks, he applies a buff to you to you, wow. He applies a buff to himself as well as Beta, which increases your crit rate by, what was it, 2% for 20 seconds. That can stack up to 10 times. So for every attack that you do as Alpha, you gain this. So I should be... let's see. So right now I'm at the 20 stacks. And then with Beta, same thing. So if I attack 10 times, I get the full 10 stacks. I don't think you even have to hit anything. So for Beta, instead of crit rate, you gain damage. 1% damage for every attack that you do, stacks 10 times. So you get 10% damage. However, when you're at max stacks, you gain +1 attack speed. And that works, again, for both Alpha and Beta. At 110, you get Time Distortion. And what this does is it puts down a time field, which if a normal enemy walks into it, they get bound. And their debuffs get taken away. This applies for bosses as well. Or not debuffs, they're buffs. So like damage reflect, weapon cancel, and so on. All get removed as long as they are in here. And for your party members, it gets rid of any of your abnormal status. It increases your attack speed by 1. And then it says nullifies magic, but I don't know what that means. I have no idea. So if someone could let me know what that means, thank you very much. Alright, so next at was it 120? I think it's 120. So at 120, you get time holding. And what it allows you to do is be invincible for 15 seconds, and also resets the cooldown on most of your skills. It doesn't reset rewind or limit break. However, if your 0 is above level 200, or is 200 and above, you gain 10% damage for using it for 90 seconds. And next we move on to rewind. Oh, by the way, the invincibility works on percent HP. Like, it works on everything. So you just take no damage. It's really great. Alright, so next we have at 140, you get rewind, which when you use it allows you to pretty much have a safeguard or a safety net. So if you die, all of your HP is recovered and you're invincible for 2 seconds. However, once it activates, the cooldown is pretty long. It's 1,800 seconds. But it's like, you know, safety net pretty much. So just in case you were about to die, this will save you. So at 170, you get Shadow Rain. And Shadow Rain is your AoE skill. It just attacks like all around. These are pretty much like your hyper skills. So Beta comes in, stabs her swords into the ground, which stun the enemies. And then Alpha comes in afterwards, slashing all the enemies that were bound. It's pretty cool. And then at level 200, you get focused time, which is pretty much like not Hero's Will, Echo of the Hero for every other class. It increases you and not even your party members, like just anybody in the map, as long as they're near you, they gain 4% magic attack and attack. And of course you can reset that with Time Holder. Alright, so that's pretty much their hyper skills done. I'll go into the actual skills now. So, for each... So there's skills that have these like bookmarks, or I guess you can just call them W's if you don't want to see them as bookmarks. That when you use them, it uses the 2 skills under it, or sometimes 3 skills under it, if you keep pressing it. So Moonstrike is the first skill that you get with Alpha. It does a slash that drags enemies to you, and then if you press it again, you push enemies away, and if you press it a third time, you teleport to the enemy the closest enemy to you, most likely the ones that you pushed away, and then do a finishing slash, which sends out like a ranged slash like aura thing. So pretty nice. And if there's no enemies in the area, you can't actually do the third hit. But yeah. So for Beta, you get Rising Slash, and when you press it 3 times, well, you only have to press it twice really. The third time is just a passive that happens. So when you press it once, you throw enemies into the air, and if you press it a second time, you send them back down with a, with a heavy hit pretty much. And then with the third hit, you also have a shockwave that happens. So pretty good. I should also mention that you don't get these skills automatically for making the class. You actually have to I think you have to level up or something before you can get this, but for Alpha, he has all 3 available to him, I think. It's been a very long time since I've played Zero from the beginning. But yeah, you don't get all of your skills just unlocked. Alright, so I should also mention the tag system. I think I already mentioned it actually. But because of the tag system, the skill that's across from whatever skill I'm looking at is what the other character will do. So if I'm Beta right now, and I use Rising Slash, if I'm Beta and I use an Alpha skill, so Moonstrike, then Beta will help me for 3 seconds using Rising Slash, which, like I said, is the corresponding skill, which is, across. So as I use Moonstrike, she uses Rising Slash, as I use Piercing Thrust, she uses Air Raid, and so on. So next we move on to a passive. It's Alpha's passive, it's pretty cool. And then Beta's passive gives you boss damage, crit rate, like all kinds of good stuff. Okay, so now we move on to the other skills. So Flash Assault. If you press it once, you dash through enemies, also gives you invincibility frames, not to percent HP though. And if you press it again, you spin in place, sending out shockwaves. However, the shockwaves... Oh, I should mention. Whenever I say advance, usually means for Alpha that it's purple and sends out these like slashes outwards. So normally you won't have this until you add into it. But the regular one is blue and spins in place, doesn't really send out slashes though. Alright, so yeah, if you press it once, you do the dash, and you press it again, you spin in place and do damage to enemies. And then for Beta, you get Flash Cut, which just does damage for the first hit. And then if you press it a second time, you throw your weapon. And because this is the advanced one, it actually continues to push enemies. So when you first add into it, it just goes through them. But because I have the advanced version, it'll actually push the enemies along as it travels. It's also really good for DPS, I should mention. Alright, so then we get another passive for Alpha. When you attack, you have a chance to recover Time Force. So when you're Alpha, you can see these feathers dropping as I attack an enemy. The green one is me recovering Time Force, and the red one is me recovering HP, which is the last skill that he gets, I believe. So he has pretty good survivability on his own. And then for beta, you just increase your defensive capabilities, as well as gaining 100% knockback resistance. Rolling cross. So this is gonna launch you at like a crescent moon that's like upside down. What's that thing called? Like a dome? Whatever. And this is a really strong skill actually. So it'll launch you, and then if you press it again, it'll spin you horizontally. Although if you're in the air, it spins you like horizontally downwards. So let me use it again. So you can do something like this, and then if you jump in the air, you can actually hit both platforms with the second hit. So you only have to press it twice for the 2 hits, because rolling cross goes into rolling assault. However, beta gets spin driver, which the first hit, spin driver, will pull enemies to you, and then the second hit will keep you spinning. The first time you add into it, it doesn't actually pull enemies to you, but when you get the advanced version of it, it does continuously pull enemies to you. And you can move around while you're spinning. It's really nice. I like it. Let's see, anything else I should mention about those? No? Oh, you know what? Mine isn't maxed, I think. No. Wait, it should be maxed. No, I guess not. Anyway. Let's see, what else do we get? Okay, so Alpha gets another passive. This one recovers his HP instead of the Time Force one. It also passively increases his other stuff. And then for Beta, she has a 20% chance to drop the enemy's defense by 10% for 20 seconds, and that stacks up to 5 times. Then we move on to the final skills. For Alpha, he gets Wind Cutter, and when you attack an enemy, it leaves these tornadoes, and then if you press it again, it'll launch the tornadoes. And then if you press it a third time, you don't actually have to hit an enemy, you can just launch it, you know, on your own. And when you launch the tornado, it'll leave lightning on the floor, which continuously damages enemies. So hit them once, leaves a tornado, hit it again, it launches the tornado, and then the third hit launches a bigger purple tornado, which leaves lightning on the floor. Alright, so Beta gets a pretty much triple slam attack. The first hit is just a slam, second hit she jumps in the air and slams, third hit she jumps even higher with wings this time, and slams down, leaving electricity on the floor where she slammed. Very strong hits, by the way. Alright, so then Beta gets 2 passives, and both of them are amazing. So the first one is Immune Barrier. When you take damage, there's a 25% chance that you create a barrier that protects your HP. So there it is, and you can see that the barrier is actually protecting my HP, like I'm not taking any damage right now, but the yellow is going down because I'm taking hits. Once the yellow goes down, of course, then you take full damage. So it's really nice. You're also invincible the moment the shield is created, so once again, very defensive, very good. And then she also gets Critical Bind. This is super useful, especially at bosses. Okay, so when you attack an enemy, you have a chance to bind them. As you can see there, that enemy is bound. And when an enemy is bound, Alpha does... Oh, goodness, I have to get the numbers. Hold on, let me see. Alpha does 30% more crit and 20% more crit damage to a bound enemy. Enemies are bound for 4 seconds and there's a 10% chance to bind them. However, a bound enemy through this skill can't be bound again with this skill for another 35 seconds. And then we move on to Divine Leer for Alpha. So when you attack with Alpha, you have a chance. There's a 15% chance to leave a debuff on the enemy that allows you to recover. There it is. This right here allows you to recover 5% HP, and the enemy takes 200% damage every 1 second. And that's pretty much all of their skills, so I guess I'll just go over the mobbing. I know I didn't say all their skill names. If I did, that would have taken up way more time. I'm trying to keep these videos shorter, but of course they end up getting longer and longer because I explain too much. So yeah, for mobbing, just use the skills that you see fit. So if I'm on the very bottom, maybe I'll throw my sword, I'll do my spin attack, you know, whatever. And then go into alpha skills. You know, just use what you see, what you feel is necessary. And then for bossing, it's pretty much the same. Just use whatever skills you see necessary. And remember that every time you switch, you have 3 seconds of having help from the other character. And yeah, I don't even think I have to go into the bossing because it's pretty much the same as the mobbing, except that you want to use specific, like, maybe I should go over the bossing. Well, okay, I'll do the bossing anyway. So when bossing as a 0, you want to make sure you're tagging and as much as possible, so that you're getting the benefits from both classes, or from both of the characters. So what I like to do is apply the, you know, area. I probably should have waited to see where he spawned. And then after that, I just use my attacks, whichever ones are helpful to the situation currently. So sometimes I'll do something like throwing the swords, you know, just to add a little bit of DPS. And like I said, just keep switching between them, using both character skills, and you'll be fine. Right now I'm mainly doing alpha just to show you how, oops, by accident or by habit, I used beta skills. But I was gonna try to show you what it's like when you only use one of them. It's not that great. You really want to use both of them, because then you have 2 characters attacking instead of just 1. So yeah, that'll do it for the 0 video. If there's anything I missed, please be sure to leave it in the comments. And hope you enjoyed, and hope to see you in the next video.